you set me a task. I'm going to look into these things.
Yeah, sure.
And
thank you.
Presumably, I can make an appointment with you to come back to you.
I would rather. I think if you're going to look into this, it's going to take several months to get into it. I'd rather, if we speak again, we do a different topic where you prepare beforehand. It's always best to choose the topic in advance and do the preparation before you speak to someone, not after.
You did mention the other day that you want to talk about the article on
warfare. Okay. Well, let's let this drop. Have you done the preparation on lesson 13?
Oh yes, of course.
Okay. Well, look, can we let that drop and go straight to lesson 13 then?
Okay.
Yep.
Can I come back to you on those particular points, though?
Okay, but I'd rather deal with just okay.
Okay, go on.
It was lesson 13, paragraph 2. I think I mentioned to you on page 55.
Lesson 13.
You have done the preparation on this?
Yes.
Yes, good. Okay, do you want to read the paragraph, as I've done a lot of talking?
Lesson 13. I'm just
Thank you.
On my iPad. Paragraph
2.
2.
You said you would read that and do preparation on this.
How does false religion represent God by its actions?
Yes.
False religion does not treat people as Jehovah does. The Bible says that false religion's sins have massed together clear up to heaven. For centuries, religions have meddled in politics, supported wars, and caused or approved the death of countless numbers of people. Some religious leaders enjoy a lavish lifestyle and demand money from their followers to pay for it. These actions prove that they do not even know God, let alone have the right to represent him.
Thank you. This paragraph seems to be saying, unless I've got it wrong, that if a religion is involved in politics or warfare, then it cannot represent Jehovah God. I mean, have I got this right?
Yes.
One of the awakes I looked up on jw.org was the Awake, 22nd of April 1993, page 6. And it says that if a religion is involved in warfare, any religion, then they're pawns of Satan the devil, which struck me as a bit harsh, but that's what the article said. I was a bit shocked at the article.
Oh, yeah, I see. The Bible calls Satan the god of this world. It would be no surprise if religion was under his influence as well as politics and the system of things is designed to take people away from worshipping Jehovah God. And we see those influences coming from church. Many people have turned away from religion because of the hypocrisy and involvement in wars. And look what's going on in the Middle East at the moment, basically down to religion.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. I beg your pardon.
No, sorry. I forget where I was going now with that. But you feel it's harsh. When you read Revelation 18, it speaks about Babylon the Great. Now, our doctrine is that Babylon the Great is all false religion.
That would be religions that are involved in politics and warfare. Is that correct?
Well, that would be included, yes.
Right. What about the fact that the Watchtower is involved in both politics and warfare and has been for a century? Wouldn't they be part of Babylon the Great because of that?
I wouldn't say it was. We take a neutral stand.
The Watchtower disagrees. Watchtower, November 2016, page 29, paragraph 9, and it's under the heading Some Refining Needed. And it's talking about the First World War. Not everything the Bible students did during the period between 1914 and 1919 was in harmony with scriptural principles. Although they were sincere, the brothers did not always have a proper view of subjection to the secular governments. Therefore, as a group, they were not always neutral with regard to the war effort. For example, when the President of the United States decreed that the 30th of May 1918 would be set aside as a day of prayer for peace, the Watchtower urged Bible students to join in the observance. Some brothers purchased war bonds to provide financial assistance to the war effort, and some even went into the trenches with guns and bayonets. It admits that they were active in supporting the US government in the First World War.
Yeah. You've got to appreciate, Robert, that this was very early on in the Jehovah's Witness movement.
Yeah, but anyone can give that argument. The Catholics could give that similar argument and say, well, you know, it was 100 years ago. The light was not very bright. We made mistakes. Yeah, anyone, the Mormons, the Catholics, the Baptists, anyone could give an argument like that. The fact is, the Watchtower admits that the Bible students were active during the First World War, and even this article I find thoroughly dishonest and untruthful, because they really only half admit to some of the things that took place during the First World War. They talk about the National Day of Prayer on the 30th of May 1918, and they say that the Watchtower urged Bible students to join in the observance. Well, yes, that's true, they did. But what they don't admit in this article, and they should have admitted and apologized for, is that the president of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, Joseph Franklin Rutherford, who was about to go on trial, because he was about to go on trial, he went on a platform with Catholic priests and Protestant clergymen, and Rutherford knelt with them in prayer, praying for victory in the First World War. Now, that's not neutrality. When the head of your religion joins the Catholics and the Protestant clergymen praying for victory in the First World War.
Well, the only thing I would say is, Robert, it was early on. I know what your argument there, but bear in mind that many of Jehovah's Witnesses or Bible students at that time were had come from the religions of Christendom, and they brought with it many of their wrong beliefs. And
but anyone can make that argument. Anyone can make that argument and say it's not our fault. We blame the church down the road. They meet in a different building. We blame them for the mistakes that we made a century ago.
They still hold out these things. They haven't changed. They still hold out that when nationalism comes up, they're in the front row.
But so are the Jehovah's Witnesses.
No.
Let me give you another example. During the First World War, they mentioned the Liberty Bond. This article in 2016 says some brothers purchased bonds to provide financial assistance to the war effort. Well, that's true, but it's a half-truth. Because what this article rather deviously does not point out is that the Watchtower itself encouraged its readers in America to buy Liberty bonds or war bonds, they had different names, to support the American war effort during the First World War. Zion's Watchtower, 15th of May 1918, and that's page 6,257 of the Green reprints, has an article about the Liberty Bond, also called the War Bond, and it encouraged its readers to buy them. And on the right-hand side of the column, it even talked about Bethel workers clubbing together to buy a single war bond between them to support the war effort. Now, this 2016 article, it's telling half-truths. It's admitting that, yes, Bible students were not neutral during the First World War, but what they don't tell you is that the leader himself, Judge Rutherford, was praying for victory on a raised platform, a podium, with Catholic priests and Protestant clergymen on his knees praying with them for victory in the First World War. And the Watchtower itself was encouraging Bible students to buy Liberty bonds. Now, I believe the Quakers are neutral in warfare. Jehovah's Witnesses are not and have never been neutral in warfare or politics.
Well, that's not true. That's not true.
What's not true? Give me one statement that I've said that's not true.
I'm
Don't give me
talking
many,
about-
just give me one.
I'm telling you that Jehovah's Witnesses at this point in time are neutral.
Neutral in what?
We will not go to war, and we will not join the forces.
Just give me one thing at a time, because I can't deal with a whole list of things. I'd prefer just to deal with one thing that you've thoroughly researched. You say Jehovah's Witnesses are neutral in warfare today. Is that right?
Yeah.
Right. How do you explain the fact that the Henrietta M. Riley Trust, the sole beneficiary of the Henrietta M. Riley Trust, is the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of New York? To clarify, she's a woman, a wealthy woman who died in 1945. There's a picture of her grave online. She bequeathed all her assets be turned into shares. It's called the Henrietta M. Riley Trust. It's autonomous, which means it's self-owning, because the dead can't own anything. And the Watchtower doesn't own it, but the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of New York is the sole beneficiary. It's run by the Commercial Bank of Detroit, and every year share dividends after tax and bank charges go to the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of New York. Now, they knowingly have accepted since 1945, 80 years, share dividends from arms companies. I've got the accounts for 2016, when the Watchtower got just under $700,000. And some of those share dividends were from Northrop Grumman, which makes the B-2, the B-2 bomber. They're making an upgraded version, the B-21 Raider, which I think is going to be produced from about next year. And Honeywell, which makes the HIMARS missile system, and other arms companies. There's even a company, Lionsgate Entertainment, that makes soft pornography, and the Watchtower gets share dividends from that. So don't tell me they're neutral in warfare, because religions that are really companies, which is what the Watchtower is, that get share dividends from arms companies, that's not neutrality in warfare. The people at the top of the Watchtower...
Your knowledge is more extensive than mine, Robert, you know.
Well, then why is that? Have you been an elder for very long?
I'm not an elder. I have been an elder in the past.
Right.
But I'm not an elder now.
You said you had prepared. You've had almost a week to prepare on this.
I have prepared. I prepared the article here. Robert, you seem as though you just want to... You're not interested in what my view is.
No, I'm not. I'm only interested in what the Watchtower's view is. When I meet a Seventh-day Adventist, I don't care if the Seventh-day Adventist says, oh, I believe you can keep the Sabbath. Oh, yes, I believe you can eat whatever you like. I'm only interested in what's the official position of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And if an individual Seventh-day Adventist wants to make some crazy statement that you can break the Sabbath and break the dietary laws, I'm not interested. If I speak to a Mormon, I'm interested in what is the official position of the Mormon Church. If the Mormon tells me, well, I actually don't believe in all that Kolob stuff, God lives on a planet near the star Kolob, I don't believe that. I'm not interested in what that individual Mormon believes. I'm only interested in what is the official position of the Mormon Church. And if I'm speaking to a Jehovah's Witness, I'm only interested in what is the official position of the Watchtower Church. I can't dedicate the rest of my life to just studying what you happen to personally believe, where you disagree and you change and you're at variance with official Watchtower doctrine.
Well, I don't believe I am at variance with official Watchtower.
Right. Why does the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society in New York get share dividends from arms companies today through the Henrietta M. Riley Trust?
I don't know. I don't believe it.
I don't care what you believe.
I'm not calling.
I don't care what you believe. I've got the IRS tax documents. IRS is the American Tax Services, the Internal Revenue Service, and they say that the Henrietta M. Riley Trust, the sole beneficiary is the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of New York, and the share dividends include arms companies such as Northrop Grumman and Honeywell, and also Lionsgate Entertainment, which makes soft pornography. Why is the Watchtower accepting this money if it's neutral and it's a Christian organisation, which, by the way, it isn't? It's a limited company founded in the state of Pennsylvania in 1884. It's a business. It's not a religion. It's a business.
Well,
it has shareholders. The governing body are appointed by the shareholders.
If the organisation is involved in those policies, has the policy of involving themselves in those things, that's for them to answer. I can only tell you what I believe, but you don't care what I believe. So
I'm not here to talk about what you believe. I'm here to talk about the people who published this book, Enjoy Life Forever. It wasn't published by you. I doubt very much that you're a rich billionaire with his own private island and private jet and private publishing company. I'm here to discuss the book Enjoy Life Forever, and Enjoy Life Forever is simply telling lies. The Watchtower has been involved in politics for many years. They even joined the United Nations in 1992. Lloyd Barry, your then governing body member, signed the Watchtower into membership of the United Nations in 1992. I mean, I'm shocked at this, sir. The Guardian did a series of 3 articles in 2001 exposing this. The Guardian called you hypocrites, not you personally, but the Watchtower. It called them hypocrites because it said that in their book, Revelation, the Grand Climax at Hand, the Watchtower was teaching at the time that Babylon the Great, or sorry, not Babylon the Great, one of the satanic beasts of the book of Revelation was the United Nation. But they joined the United Nations in 1992 as an NGO, non-governmental organisation. And the Guardian did a series of 3 articles exposing this. They called the Watchtower hypocrites, and the Watchtower's never taken them to court. Well, the Watchtower has a reputation for being very litigious. They have a legal department, and they sue anything that moves to silence critics. Why didn't they sue the Guardian? But they didn't sue the Guardian because what the Guardian said was truthful.
Well, Robert, I don't think we can go any further, to be quite honestly. I can understand why people have referred you in the past to the Watchtower and Bible Tract Society through jw.org. That's the only way you're going to get answers to those particular questions, because the average Jehovah's Witness is not involved in those fields.
In other words, they're just blind followers, really. Jehovah's Witnesses are trained to be blind followers and not to think critically.
No more than any other religious person.
I would agree. I think lots of religious people are just blind followers. They just blindly follow their leaders. They don't look critically at anything, especially in Islam. But yeah, I think the same would be true of some evangelical sects, many Catholics, maybe not all of them, but many of them, and certainly Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons and Seventh-day Adventists. People just don't examine the history of their religion.
Tell me, Robert, do you belong to any particular religion?
No. I used to go to a Baptist and a Pentecostal church, but I gave up years ago. I walked out never to go back.
Yeah.
I think one of the final straws was I went to a Pentecostal church, first time I'd ever been there, and I started sort of asking questions. I'm speaking to you, and I was speaking to a young girl in her early 20s. Perhaps she was the pastor's daughter or the daughter of an elder. And she said to me, quote, "I have authority over you." I wasn't allowed to ask these questions, even though I'm now a man of 64, and I was probably more than twice her age. I've read the Bible through several times. I have a bachelor's degree in divinity with religious studies, and then a postgraduate teacher training certificate. When you speak to someone who's the pastor's daughter or the pastor's son or the pastor's wife, you can't talk to them because they're like the sort of medieval pope. They're a different category of human being who can't be challenged, who can't be questioned. But she actually said to me, "I have authority over you," and I wasn't allowed to ask these questions. And I was a guest. I wasn't a member of this church. I was just a guest in it. I mean, and I thought, I'm wasting my time with these people because they don't know the first thing at all about what they're talking about. And I met so many evangelicals where I live. I happen to live in Plymouth, but in Plymouth and Cornwall, I mean, I've heard over and over again that, people would say they believe in the Trinity, for instance, and then they say Jesus is God the Father. That's the Trinity. Well, it's not. It's modalism. Jesus is not the Father. He's the Son of the Father, 2 John 3. He's of the same substance as the Father. Consubstantial be the Trinitarian term. But he's not the same person as the Father. And I heard this over and over again, and I heard other evangelicals, Plymouth Christian Centre, told me that Jesus, when he died, he went to hell and he had to make an atonement to the devil in hell. That was at an Alpha group meeting. They spent an enormous amount of time putting.
So as well as I do.
They made an enormous amount of. They made an enormous amount of effort making all these tables with this food and white tablecloths and cutlery just laid out so everything was exact, but they paid no attention to the theology, but they were completely unteachable. No one can dialogue with these people. That's the problem with a lot of religious groups. One of the things I think you need to understand about the Bible is if you study the Bible and you study Jesus and the apostles, obviously something like the Sermon on the Mount is edited. It's edited down. Not everything Jesus said in the Sermon on the Mount is in Matthew. I think it's Matthew 5 to 7 or 8.
Matthew, 5, 6, 7.
6, 7, 8. So it's edited down. But when you look at Jesus in the New Testament, he didn't do what so many people do today. He didn't preach at people in monologue. Jesus didn't stand up and say, blah, 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 blah. Don't question me. I have authority over you. Blah, blah, blah. And then Jesus is the only one who does the talking, and then he walks away. Jesus had what's called a dialogue. He had a two-way conversation with people. And I think a lot of problems in religion would be solved if people understood that and understood that anything you say in a religious context should be some form of dialogue, including, I believe, the Sunday sermon. I think if someone's going to stand up and give a sermon on Sunday, all right, make it half an hour, but then after that sermon, say, right, we'll have now half an hour of question and answer on that sermon. Or if you have a midweek meeting, the whole of the midweek meeting, have a quick prayer, and then let's have questions on the sermon. Everything's supposed to be a dialogue in Christianity, and I think that Christianity has kind of become corrupted over the years because people think in whatever religious group they can just preach in monologue. And I do find it's the people who claim to be the fundamentalists, the Bible literalists and the fundamentalists, who are by far the worst, because they just live in a bubble where they can't be challenged. And this is also very true, of course, in Islam, which is the huge weakness of Islam. Islam's a particular interest of mine over the last year. I've been studying it quite a lot. But a lot of the problems in Christianity are solved if you realize that Christianity is a dialogue. If you're going to stand up and preach a sermon in a church, that's fine. But understand that people have to have the right, and you have to be open to being questioned about that. And the same thing in street evangelism. Street evangelism shouldn't be just standing up with a microphone and shouting at people, blah, 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 Jesus, blah, 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 blah. It should be a two-way discussion, a two-way dialogue. And my own experience is that most religious people, particularly Bible fundamentalists, but even worse so, Muslims, are just not capable of that. And that's the great Achilles heel of organized religion. It's become one person standing up and just preaching in monologue, whereas to be healthy, it should be a dialogue, because no matter how much you study, there's always somebody who knows it better than you do and knows it better than me. And so by trying to listen to people, you can pick up where you go wrong. And I try to do that. I try to pick up criticism. Some of the criticism people throw at me, I think, is weak. Some of the criticism is very good, and I've tried to take it on board when it's good and try to adapt. Yeah, so look, thank you for your help, and thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Robert. Your conversation's interesting. I'm 78 years of age.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say a young 78. I've been Jehovah's Witness for 52 years now.
Yes.
So I've been doing it a long time. I don't profess to be the most articulate person in the world, but I do read my Bible, and I learn lessons every day from it.
It's good. That's good. Yeah. I'm happy to talk again, but one single topic, and you prepare in advance. I would be a very passionate Trinitarian, and I noticed that lesson 15.
You say you would be?
Yes, of course. Yes, I'm passionate.
Yeah.
And I'm passionate because in the 1980s, as a young baby Christian, I got involved in a modalist sect. Modalism is the heresy I told you about, the heresy that Jesus is the Father.
Right.
So when Jesus is praying to the Father in John 17:1, Father, take this cup from me,
Yeah.
the modalist would claim, well, Jesus is the Father, so he's praying to himself. It's the human part of Jesus praying to the divine part of Jesus, which is their explanation.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense, but I got involved in that. I was in it for just under a year. I prayed. I wrote a tract for them. I prayed about it, and I believe God answered me and showed me that that tract was wrong. I had £1,000 offer on the back of the tract if you could prove the Trinity to me from the book of Acts with regard to baptism. And I believe that the Lord Jesus led me out of that and led me to a correct understanding, which was the doctrine of the Trinity. If you wish to talk again, I'm happy to do that. Take a couple of days or weeks to prepare. I'm happy to discuss why I believe that Jesus Christ shares his Father's nature. Jesus is Almighty God.
It's a very deep subject because I don't believe in the Trinity. I believe that the Father and the Son are separate entities, the Holy Spirit being God's active force.
Why didn't you prove that to me? I'm quite happy for you to do that. But take some time to prepare.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can even speak to me if you want with another elder if you want to.
No, I mean that's
no. Okay. Well, that's fine. Just text me a few days before when you want to speak, the exact time, the exact day, and the topic, so I will do some reading beforehand.
Okay, Robert.
That's lovely. Thank you so much, sir.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.